Bugs are attacking human cities, and the brave mobile infantry and human police force are diligently keeping the peace and keeping the bugs out of your hair. Would you like to know more?
Would you like to know more?
Starship Troopers is a classic in its own right, but the strategy game Starship Troopers Terran Command is something of a gem as well. Originally releasing 2 whole years ago and having since received a ton of updates, quality of life features, and bug fixes. After all, the only good bug is a fixed bug. Starship Troopers just released its second major expansion, Urban Onslaught. And thanks to Slytherin, I'm able to show off this DLC in all its glory. And trust me, by now, I kinda felt like I've seen it all in this genre, but Starship Troopers actually managed to prove me wrong. And if you like what you're seeing so far, consider hitting that like button if you want to see more. The original Starship Troopers campaign, much like the movie, mostly takes place in environments you'll definitely recognize from that film. Desert-like, quite open, and with a ton of very squashable bugs. And while that's great, Urban Onslaught decides to change things up a little and bring the war back to arguably a tad more familiar settings, urban environments. We now find ourselves navigating streets and bridges, run-down districts, and destroying bug nests infesting the underground. Every inch of territory is hard fought, as our brave servicewomen and men fight to uphold peace and order. And while the yellow and brown color of desert planets might please some, there is absolutely something extra beautiful about the lights and refined visuals of a city, and it becomes evident right away. Here, you have to make sure to navigate past abandoned trucks, place your troops in strategic positions, and create valuable choke points for the enemy horde, because this is indeed a horde. One of the coolest things about Starship Troopers and this new DLC is that feeling of actually playing out the battles of this universe on a large scale. In most other RTS games, 2 groups of units will often clash and a fight will play out fairly quickly, before you move on to the next one. But here, that's not always the case. In fact, you'll often be facing overwhelming numbers and be forced to stand against a tide of incoming multi-legged creatures, fighting for only inches as you make your way forward. But you know, that's part of the fun of Starship Troopers. It's what makes it different. And luckily, you have the weapons, you have the technology, and you have soldiers of quality on your side to take on any bug-sized challenge that may come their way. On the part of Urban Onslaught, however, we follow a new cast of characters, focusing in part on Officer Kayla Keys. Her missions involve clearing the streets of Mahanagar alongside her police force, a new type of unit by the way, which uses drones to distract enemies in order to fend off incoming damage. She also makes use of mech units to disperse the enemy, using both grenades and poison gas to get the job done. Officer Keys is not just competent in her job, but she also has a soft spot for civilians, which means that in some of her missions, you need not only take care of your own men, but also those who cannot protect themselves. This puts her ever so slightly at odds with Major Verhagen, a rugged fighter whose only concern is killing bugs. Both of them are linked to the new story beats of Urban Onslaught, and following the story of Keys in particular, and her mysterious mind powers, is fun, especially when her and the Major disagree. You see, this is what makes one of the early missions so extremely satisfying. After fighting through most of the mission, you now have to set up a massive defensive perimeter. Using technicians to build all new turrets to defend these tight choke points, you have to prepare your units for regular invasions that come every few minutes. These are deadly and will require you to maintain your turrets and make use of your soldiers' special abilities, like crowd control grenades and use of vantage points. However, what makes this a lot more intense is the fact that you not only have to hold this defensive position, but that you first have to do so while clearing the rest of the map of bug nests. This means venturing forth with as many units as you can spare, while navigating the dark streets beyond. Gathering new supplies for your technicians back at base can set up even more turrets is vital, especially since you for the most part only have a set number of unit slots available, making turrets essential to your defense. Turrets, by the way, are awesome and now come in several variants. If there's something I've always loved, it is a good tower defense game, and even though Starship Troopers Terran Command isn't exactly a tower defense, it manages to often create that same feeling of defending your position against waves and waves of enemies. Indeed, taking out these nests is a tall order on its own, since they are rather far away, and you'll face hordes of enemies on the way there as well, all the while keeping in mind that new invasions are on the horizon. But the second aspect of this whole thing is the fact that you have to keep enough civilians alive. At this point in the mission, civilians will try to make their way through your base, but might run into bugs on their way. If only 30 civilians die, you lose, meaning that the triangle of your base, your management of soldiers and their offensive mission, and the civilians and keeping them alive makes for extremely intense gameplay with a lot of moving targets. I mean, look at this visual spectacle as I defend my positions, using both turrets, troopers, and bazooka specialists to take down the unrelenting bug invasion. Don't forget about the music either, which absolutely slaps and adds so much to the feeling of intensity. Of course, with this DLC comes a lot of awesome new weapons too, not just the police force, but the Ajax bazooka troopers, who can also travel quickly between distances using their jetpacks. And later, you get to play around with some heavy machinery, bringing the firepower up a notch in the fight against those never-ending onslaughts. And all of it is so awesome. If you've never played the base game though, the basics of Terran Command and Urban Onslaught are mostly the same. Troops are moved around like in any RTS game, and clicking on the various units or on their emblems in the UI will take you straight to them, and allow you to make use of their special abilities. You can only have as many units or machinery as your supplies allow for, and if a unit gets hurt, you can always send for reinforcements back at base to top them up. Bug hives must be destroyed by sending units to actually destroy them. And of course, the combat itself is for the most part about fending off wave after wave of enemies, and making the best use of the time given to you between those waves. The thing is though that for the most part, these waves feel organic. The bugs come out of their hiding places and nests and whatnot every now and then, which means that you're always going to have to deal with a new set of enemies if you don't manage to meaningfully move forward. One of the best things about Terran Command, which absolutely continues with this DLC, is the game's attention to detail when it comes to this universe. First of all, and very much in your face, is that sense of gunfire hailstorms that never end. I love watching my troopers endlessly spray and pray, and these sounds are on point no matter where you find yourself. But equally important is everything that goes on around the game. It's so funny and endearing to watch the news bulletins, hearing the announcer, and seeing those same animations we know from the movie, as both the cutscenes, the in-game units and characters, and mostly everything else just screams Starship Troopers. It was absurd in the movie, and it's equally absurd and funny now, and it lends an aura and a vibe to this game that very few, if no other strategy game actually has. One that, despite being so intense, never takes itself too seriously, and that is a rare combination indeed. Urban Onslaught is available now and features entirely new environments, 9 new story campaign missions, 8 new unique units, 4 new turret types, and 4 new arachnid units as well, meaning this is a massive expansion, and one that is worthy of the incredible base game, which is currently on a massive sale. And lastly, check out the Racing Hell DLC as well, which comes with an all-new campaign, new missions, monsters, and units. In other words, if you've been wanting more of that intense action and is not afraid of a challenge, I highly recommend checking out this DLC, and make sure to follow my link in the description to do so. Let me know what you think of Starship Troopers and this new DLC, and make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching, thank you so much to Slytherin for sponsoring this video, and I'll see you next time. Cheers!